So we're Palestinians. I'm so proud being a Palestinian. And just like you said, you was born and raised in Israel and you like it and you love it. And me also, like I love being a Palestinian. But being rejected from like the community around me, that they be like, oh, you black, you're black. There's a lot of people like till these days they calling us as slaves, like, and they're just saying it like it's cool. It's like, we don't have no other word to say.
Hello and welcome back to the page. I'm your host, Ashriel Moore, the ambassador of the African Diaspora Collective right here in Israel. So as per usual, I want to continue to bring voices and experiences from this side of the world of people of African ancestry residing in this region. Most people are not even aware of the fact that 5% of the entire Israeli society are people of African ancestry. We're talking about 500,000 people of African ancestry. In addition to that, people are not aware of the fact that there are what is called Afro-Palestinians in the area that some refer to as Judea and Samaria and other people refer to as the West Bank. 300,000 of our brothers and sisters residing there. And we also have 1% of the population of Gaza are people of African ancestry who are residing in a neighborhood called El Abid. I conducted an interview with my sister Amal from Jericho in the Palestinian territories. And people have been asking a lot of questions about that. People really wanted to know, kind of get, a deeper look into the existence of these communities, but also they want to know more about their experiences. And the reason why is because when you talk about Israel and the Palestinian territories and the conflict and things that are happening on this end, there's a very specific and quite popular framing of it, which is absolutely flawed, right? It lacks so much context. It lacks so much nuance. There's so many missing pieces that people have no idea to even ask about because they don't even know that these things exist, so they don't even know how much they don't know, so they don't even know the questions to ask so they can be able to get to the answers in regards to the things. You see how complicated it is? And so that's why it's very important for me to continue to frame the conversation in a totally different way. Framing the conversation in a way where you would be able to then understand the mindset of people of African ancestry residing in this region based on our experiences. And so first of all, before I go into it, I really just want to play you a small clip, a portion from that interview that I conducted with my sister Amal, and then we'll jump into the conversation.
So growing up as a black girl, and then I started having like seeing the differences in school, in the street, wherever, we walk, we see the differences from children. And then we growing up, and so we start seeing that from the community. So when I start noticing what's going on, I was like, there is a empty space between the two group of people, even though we live in the same area. So in Jericho, we live separated. I don't know, you have been in Jericho? So we live in separated areas. Everybody's saying that, oh no, we're not racist, we're not this, we're not that. But the black people, like wherever you go, they having issues. So this is what we were facing. Me and my sister, we tried to, bring the that just to make them understand more about being black than being fitting in a community that want us to act like this. So we're Palestinians. I'm so proud being a Palestinian. And just like you said, you was born and raised in Israel and you like it and you love it. And me also, like I love being a Palestinian. But being rejected from like the community around me, that they be like, oh, you're black, you're black. There's a lot of people like till these days they calling us as slaves, like, and they're just saying it like it's cool. It's like, we don't have no other word to say.
So let me just stop it here for a moment and then we'll continue, right? The reason why it's so important to reframe the conversation is because people give you the impression that when you're talking about the Palestinian society, you're talking about a monolithic group. And this monolithic group is primarily people, as they refer to them, brown peoples, right? Indigenous peoples of the lands, mainly Arab peoples. But then they leave out some very key components, like, for example, the existence of the Afro-Palestinians. And the fact that when you hear, much of the framing from on this end, it gives you the impression from the people who are speaking, so whether it's the PLO or Hamas or the Palestinian Authority and others, when they're speaking to mainly the people of African ancestry on the African continent, so African people, or the people of African ancestry in a diaspora in America, South America, and Europe, they give the impression that there is some alliance that, historic alliance between, as they say, black and brown peoples of the world, oppressed peoples of the world. And so when they bring, their situation to the table and they're trying to appeal to these various demographics, they're talking about it as if there's something that we have in common. And so they're looking, obviously, to gain the support of people of African ancestry wherever we are in the world. But they very conveniently leave out the experiences of Afro-Palestinians in their society, because then that'll change the entire narrative, right? Everything that they've built would then have to be reconstructed. The reason why is because, as my sister is mentioning here, clearly there is racism, discrimination, oppression of people of African ancestry who are also referred to and are considered Palestinian, Afro-Palestinians. There is very clear separation between them and the other Palestinian peoples. They're not really treated as and welcomed as locals, as part of the Palestinian society. They're kind of rejects within that society, and she's going to go into it a bit more. And so when you realize this, then now you have to go back and say, tell me more about the Afro-Palestinians' experiences in the Palestinian society, so that you may be able to properly form an opinion about what's actually taking place on this end, because you thought it was just a dichotomy of European people in Israel and Arab people or brown indigenous people on the Palestinian side. And these are the groups that are fighting. This is the end fight. But it certainly is not that. 70% of the Israeli society are not people of European descent. And you have many Afro-Palestinians on the Palestinian side who are being rejected from that specific society. So then you have to go and peel back a lot of the layers to be able to get a better understanding about these things that people very conveniently omit from the conversation, because then it'll put a needle right in the heart of the entire thesis that has been created. But let's continue. But let me ask you though, are they aware of the fact? So when they say slave, when they say abid, do they mean it in the actual sense of a slave?
No.
Okay.
That's what they've been hearing from their grandfathers. That's why they're using it.
I mean, they refer to people of African ancestry, and she's saying it. I mean, I've heard it, I've seen it, I've experienced it as well. But she's saying clearly that they refer to them as slaves, because for a very long period of time during the Ottoman rule on this plot of land, they were the lighter skinned Palestinian people. They were actually bringing people from the African continent, primarily sub-Saharan Africa, to be domestic workers for them. But then that changed from a regular, normal domestic worker into an actual slave, where they had no rights, where they had no abilities to do anything outside of what the master was saying, where they were actually being overworked, where they weren't really being paid for the work that they were doing, where they were actually in secluded areas, not close to master, and all these things. So people wouldn't know about these experiences, that these people had experienced over the generations, right? And so this is something that has just been continual, right? Let's not even talk about the trans-Saharan slave trade that began in the 7th century, and as of recent is actually still continuing until this very day, and it's called the kafala system, mainly in Arab states. But let's just focus specifically on Israel and on the Palestinian territory in the meanwhile, just so we could be able to not lose the focus. So these people, because they've been seen as second class in this region, in this area, for as long as those people who have been coming from the from sub-Saharan Africa to work here or whatever, then as far as the other Palestinians are concerned, they're still considered second class. They're still considered and called even slave and other things like that. So these things actually still exist at this very moment in time, today, right? Today within the Palestinian society. This is something obviously people were not aware of. But let's continue.
So that's why they really using it. There's a lot of people, they really don't have problem with us. The government actually, they just act like we're not there. So you see, like in the people, the refugees, I talked about it before. The refugees, they have the UN card, or I don't know what they call it, of a health insurance.
Okay.
And for them, we don't consider as so we like in the air, like we're not refugees, we're not originally Palestinians, so we kind of should depend on ourselves just to stay.
Yeah, but see, my problem with that is that, one, the refugee status for Palestinian people is from UNRWA. And UNRWA established that in 1949. And the purpose was that what they were saying basically is that everybody who was in the area that had now become the state of Israel between 1946 and 1948, they should be automatically recognized as refugees. And it really doesn't matter where they live. You have people who are in Lebanon and Syria, people who are still in different places in Israel, in America, that they're still recognized after the first generation, second generation, third generation. This is a hereditary recognition of refugee status. That's Palestinian people, the only people who receive that.
That's the issue.
How is it that you don't?
That's the issue. We're not considered as refugees because we're not refugees.
Let me stop right here for a second, and I'm just going to give a little bit of commentary on this here. As she's mentioning here, the Afro-Palestinians are not really even considered part of the Palestinian society. And a lot of things that are quite normal within the Palestinian society, and even for people who are not even residing in the Palestinian territories, but they're in other places like Lebanon and Syria and Dubai and the United States and all these places, under the United Nations Relief and Works, association or agency, right? UNRWA. Everybody who were in this region from 1946 until 1948, post the establishment of the State of Israel, they're considered refugees. Now, this is the most unique refugee status in the world because they're the only ones who have what is called hereditary refugee status. That means that it's passed down from generation to generation to generation. And it really doesn't matter where you are in the world. And so you could be born to grandparents or to parents who were born even outside of Israel in a different country, but you still could be considered a refugee, and your children also will be considered refugees, and your children's children could be considered refugees, and whatever the perks are, whatever the benefits are for being refugee, you could be, even if you're living a pretty good life in the country that you live in now, you still qualify to receive all of those benefits as a refugee. So whether it's money or refugee card or assistance or health insurance, whatever else comes along with that, you qualify to receive that under UNRWA. And the thing here, the very interesting thing here is that even if you had just migrated to the area between 1946 and 1948, you didn't even have to be here beforehand. Even if you migrated into the area during that period of time, you still would qualify to receive that status. Even if you and your children were born outside of this area, because under the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, right, after one generation, you're no longer considered a refugee. whatever country you're living in, you would then have to find a way to be absorbed into that country. The country's responsibility is to actually absorb you into that country, and then you become part of that society. So you know, once you move to a third country where you are now secured and safe, you no longer qualify to receive refugee status. But that's not the same thing with Palestinian refugees. So even though that's the case, these people who have been here way before that 1946, 1948 mark, we're talking about approximately 300,000 people of African ancestry called Afro-Palestinians. They're the only ones, as far as the Palestinian governments are concerned, the Palestinian Authority, Hamas, and whoever else, wherever they are, they're the only ones who do not qualify to receive that refugee status. How about that? They're the only ones. They don't receive any of the benefits. They don't receive any of the perks. Everybody else do around them. Everybody else do, just not them. How's that for, you know, for reframing the conversation for you to be able to see these things from a different light altogether? But let's continue. Let's let her share a bit more with you.
But when you live in a refugees area, you should get a card that you live in there. So at least, like, if you move to a certain area, you just change your address. So we live in a refugee area, you should get a card. Okay, if you're not getting any service from the community, we are a village. A village, for like most of the people in a village, they are from my family. So when they don't have most of the services like lighting, water, thank God we have our own spring. So, and they still took most of it. And so we just have to do this by ourselves. We don't have a school. We have to ask for it. So they taking care of this in most of the areas, not our area.
So I don't even have to say any more about that specifically. So she's saying basically that the government, the Palestinian government, whatever the governments are, whoever they are, whatever the form is, they are being overlooked. They live in specific communities that are secluded, that are separated, that are segregated basically from the other Palestinians. Everybody else around them receive the basic amenities, which are normal things like electricity, right? Like running water, for example, right? Like access to education, to a school and stuff like that. And we're talking about large, you know, a few large communities. I'm specifically speaking about Jericho, but this is relevant for everywhere the Afro-Palestinians reside, right? They don't have access to any of those things because the governments refuse to provide those things. So what do they have to do? They have to find ways to be able to generate their own electricity, right? And the ways that they do so, they have to find ways to be able to use the streams of water that are in the area for the purpose of whatever it is they need water for. You know, basic things. They have to walk about 1 hour away. The children need to walk about 1 hour away to the other areas where the other Palestinians reside, so they can be able to attend the educational systems over there, the schools that are there. And they don't even receive transportation to get there. So it's walking distance 1 hour, and then I'm guessing walking distance back 1 hour, depending on, I guess, how fast you walk or how slow you walk. But you wouldn't know about these things happening within a specific society that people are telling you, brothers and sisters, we need to support because we're experiencing oppression, degradation, and all the other words that are triggering words to people of African ancestry because of the things that we experience the world over, wherever we are in the world. So specifically using that language obviously is in order to be able to appeal to us. And so it's strategically used for that purpose, to manipulate the internal desires of people of African ancestry, to support, to stand by people who we believe are experiencing some of the same things that we're experiencing, or we have experienced wherever we are in the world. And so naturally, our natural instinct is to support them, is to stand beside them, is to champion their cause wherever we are in the world. But then you have no idea that the exact same things that they are speaking about, that they experience at the hands of Israel and others, this is what they're actually carrying out on people of African ancestry within their society. Conveniently, obviously, it's not being spoken of, but I putting the focus on people of African ancestry in this region. I'm not a spokesperson for other people. I don't represent their cause. I don't represent their desires. I'm speaking specifically in regards to people of African ancestry, whether they're Afro-Palestinian, Afro-Bedouin, African Hebrew Israelite, Beta Israel Ethiopians, Igbos, Ghanaians, Togolese, asylum seekers from Sudan and from Eritrea, African American Jews. This is my focus. These are the demographics that I'm actually focused on. And so it's important for me to continue to bring these stories out so that people can really be able to hear these things once again, so that they can register in their brains that what they have been told in regards to everything that is happening here has been very beautifully packaged in such a way where, unless you actually open the package and not look at it from the outside, you wouldn't really be able to have a proper view, a proper understanding of the realities as they are, because you're looking at the package from the outside and you never even bother to open it because you were told there's nothing there to see. This is the reality. This is what it is. Don't even open it, because if you open it, then, obviously, I don't know, you're gonna misunderstand the reality. But no, you have to open it so that you could actually be exposed to the reality. And that's what I'm trying to help my brothers and sisters to be exposed to the actual realities. So that's all that we have for today. Thank you so much for continuing to follow me on this journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave me a comment below if you're feeling any of what it is that we're discussing here. Until next time, you all take care.